You're listening to the Precision Shooting Podcast, discussing all aspects of precision and long-range rifle shooting. This episode is brought to you by Impact Dynamics. And now, over to your hosts.
Well, hello and welcome to the Precision Shooting Podcast. This is episode number 140. So a good weight for a caliber, hey, Bronte?
Especially in 6.5.
Yeah.
You can't go too far wrong.
I thought so. Anyway, tonight is, we've got all sorts of people in the room. Bronte, obviously, that would make sense because he just spoke.
That's generally how it works.
Good, mate. You doing all right?
Not too bad. Not too bad.
Fantastic. Andy over there.
How you going?
Representing the All Aspects shirt, the shirt named after him.
Thanks.
It's all right. And joining us tonight is Spotlighter Extraordinaire, we hope. We'll see how we go. Euge, how are you, mate?
Good, mate. Yourself?
Going all right, man. All right. Everyone been shooting? Anyone been shooting?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay. This is a good start.
Not recently.
No, didn't you go a couple of weeks ago, Euge? Isn't that why we got you in?
Yeah. Oh, okay. Maybe 3-4 weeks ago. That's
Excellent.
not recent enough, though.
Okay. Andy, what about you, mate?
Yeah, that was about 2 or 3 weeks ago now as well, spotlighting.
And where is it all spotlighting? We all, Bronte? You
did
some range stuff?
Range stuff as well as spotlighting.
Yeah, okay. Well, plenty of stories. So tell us about the range because we'll save the spotlighting for a little bit later.
I just rode for most of the day and then did a handgun shoot and that was about it.
Oh, okay.
So
Well, we could have skipped over that, really.
Hey, I didn't ask. You asked.
Yeah. No,
You should know by now.
True, I should. I've done no shooting. No, I sighted a gun in at the range on probably the same day that you were there. One of the guns was, we just put a scope on it and went, well, someone has sighted in and whoever was doing it struggled and so I got on there and struggled along with them. So we got there. It was good. We've had a huge response to our last competition. We'll delve straight into that because we put up a request for your stages that were relating to F-Class. So if you remember from our last show, we spoke about a F-Class style range that has approval for steel, but of course the steel was only down at the end where you can put all the targets and then you have to move back if you want to shoot further or closer. So that's what we're talking about, and then we're trying to come up with stages to be able to run a PRS influence match, I guess, at a range like that. And we put that out as a competition to win one of the new Projectile Warehouse bullet caps. And wow, we had a huge response, all sorts of ideas. So we're going to read through a few of the suggestions and make some comments about them, see how we go. But gentlemen, we do have to pick a winner tonight. All right, so we need to decide who gets the hat. Andy, have you got one in front of you? You want to bring one up first? Have you got a particular one that you liked? I know you looked through a few of them.
Oh, well, let's not be too generous. I had a quick glance.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I think there was one.
There was definitely more than one.
There was definitely more than one, yes. No, I like there was one, a lot of them involving KYL racks.
Yeah, real common.
Which is probably good. Yeah, it's a good thing. It progressively gets harder. Simple one that I would like to see is a KYL rack, one shot strong side and then one shot support side at each plate. 10 shots, 120 seconds, shoot to move.
I did like that. Yeah, that was a good one. I've got one here. Who is that from?
David Taylor.
Good. All right. Black. It's Instagram. Never know who anyone is. But anyway, Black Stilts, I think is the name, on Insta suggested loophole stage. Hopefully you can put something downrange like that. That's no issue. But anyway, so loophole KYL rack again set an acceptable distance for the plate size. Clearly not willing to put a distance on, but I see what he's saying. An appropriately sized target. So let's say at 400 yards. An acceptable distance for the plate size. A cardboard barrier is set up in front of the firing line with 3 different size holes. Small, 3 points per impact. Medium, 2 points per impact. And large, 1 point per impact. It doesn't fit PRS rules, but anyway, we're moving on. The shooter nominates the hole they choose to shoot through before the timer starts. All scoring shots must be made through the nominated hole. When he hits on the barrier, score is 0. And usual KYL rules for all shots. Usual KYL rules being that if you miss your target, you're all zeros. All sorts of zeros going on.
Got a lot of donuts on that stage.
Yeah, nothing passing the PRS rules. But anyway, we're still trying. Shooter starts from a standing position, magazine and any other equipment in hand. Rifle is staged at the phone line. All shots are taken from the prone position. No gear restrictions. The barrier would need to be fixed onto a rail type setup. 2 lengths of 2x4, so it could be pulled back to the firing point to patch any holes prior to the next shooter and then push back out to 3 or 4 meters to reset. There you go. Or you'll have 20 people watching, see if there's any holes. I'm sure we'll work out which holes are which, but valid point. Loophole stages. Bronte, you and I have attempted to shoot a loophole stage, didn't we?
Yes.
How did that go?
I got to the loophole bit, but
Yep.
I timed out before I actually
And I got
found the target.
I timed
And
that
that
way
was-
before it.
Yeah, I got down there and I was looking for the damn thing, but I couldn't find it through the hole. It'd be an interesting. I like the concept. Mm-hmm. Very interesting concept. It'd be interesting to see how you go with a KOL rack. You obviously need a width,
Need some, yeah.
a bit of latitude.
That's a bit, once you're on, that's a bit easier to work with.
Yes, but
Then-
a circle. If you got a loophole.
Yep.
The whole principle of a loophole is that has to be at a certain distance. So you're zero, you're crossing through your line of sight first time, second time.
Absolutely. But lateral movement shouldn't play too much.
But a circle's
role.
obviously as you go across to the sides of it.
Sorry, explain to me what a circle is. Sorry.
As you go across to the sides of a circle,
Yep.
the available height gets smaller.
I see. Good. Okay, that's good. A good stage. Really, really creative way of doing that. Assuming you're able to put that cardboard down range, and that doesn't constitute any issues on a particular range. But yeah, sounds good. Andy, you got another one sitting there?
Yeah, sure, why not? This one's from Tristan. He's called it That Cunning Fox.
Oh yeah.
So 180 seconds, 10 rounds in 2 groups of 5. So no equipment restrictions on the buzzer. Drop to prone with your scope zeroed. Mag empty on the ground, ready to be loaded, as in the rounds not in the magazine.
Yep.
Pick a card that will say dial or hold. Load your mag with 5 of your 10 rounds only and engage the shout out to STS Still Targets Fox at 300 meters.
There was a lot of sponsorship in his.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if he got paid to put that post up. But anyway, carry on.
You must hold or dial depending on what your card said when you pulled at the start.
Yep.
Stand up, run back 5 meters, touch the. It's done another shout out.
Yep.
Touch the promo board, run back, drop.
You can say Delta Tactical.
Okay.
We like those guys. You're allowed to say Delta Tactical.
Okay.
It's all right.
It just wasn't highlighted in the post.
I'll just send Danny an invoice. That's fine.
Run back, touch the promo board for Delta Tactical. Jump back down to the prone, load your last 5 rounds and re-engage the same target in the hold over or dial manner from your first 5 shots. So, yeah.
Yep.
Well, that was cool.
That is a good one. Is it? Sorry, I missed it. Is it the same manner as your first 5 or a different one?
You said the same, but I would have thought you would have changed it.
Yeah,
just to
I'd
keep
go
it-
different because then it's even for everyone.
Yep. And you've just
And
got to
you're
remember
just mixing the order up.
what you did previously. Yep.
Yeah,
You know
absolutely.
what would make it more nasty? If, say you pulled dial first,
Yeah.
when you're on the hold stage, you weren't allowed to change your zero from where it was. So if you had it at like 600 meters, so you had to dial, and you dialed first, so you dialed up,
Yeah.
you'd now have to actually hold below your zero on the hold stage.
You're mean.
Oh, actually, no, you won't. Yeah, no, sorry. No, I won't.
No.
Nah.
You have to wind it back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have to wind it back, otherwise, yeah.
Okay.
Bugger.
All right, here we go.
Good if it was the other way.
Here we go. KOL, this is from Paul Janzo. KOL rack at a given distance. Again, he wasn't willing to name a distance. Rifle on mound mag out. The rifle. Shooter prone behind the rifle on signal. Shooter to leave mound with magazine and collect rounds from a box set behind mound at X distance. Give us some numbers, Paul. Collect as many rounds as shooter thinks her or he will impact the KOL round. If a miss is recorded, end of shoot. If all targets hit, shooter can collect more rounds and continue on shooting. A miss will zero the course. Again, doesn't quite follow the PRS rules. But anyway, interesting bit of movement.
Yeah, I guess that's sort of like a know your limits rack, but with the same target.
No, it's a KOL
It
rack.
was, sorry? Oh, okay.
KOL rack. The difference being that you have to sort of
Nominate how many
rounds you're gonna use. So
Yep.
yeah, that's good.
Cool.
Anyone got another one?
I've got one which isn't quite a stage, but I like where he's going with it. It's saying, I don't care. All I need is a border to be open so I can participate and learn more. He lives in Broken Hill, New South Wales.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
I think they should redraw that border. Just a little bit of a loop around Broken Hill. It may as well be South Australia anyway.
They do run on SA time,
I
don't
know,
they? Yeah,
exactly, yeah. Andrew Stevens suggested like a stage on steel near the ground where the RO adjusts your turrets enough to get you off target slightly, safely, and then put some tape on so you can't see it. Then you have 10 shots to score, having to spot your miss and adjust. This would help work on follow-through drills and miss shot drills.
Yeah, pretty legitimate.
It's good. It's a good one. Yeah, whether or not you can actually get away with doing that on a...
No, you can read. I can't read.
You can do that on some ranges. That will be the challenge. But
Are they like anti-canted 90 degrees shooting still, or is that because there was a phase and no one was real thrilled about that because some people weren't very confident with it? Because that would be an interesting one. You'd like go left, right, up, and
Yeah. No. The raccoon and then the reverse raccoon.
yeah.
Good. Okay. Anyway. Andy?
David's put up another one. So
just look at him go.
yeah, I know.
He really wants that hat, hey?
So, bullseye target at 700 metres. Start at port arms. On the buzzer, adopt a prone position with no bipod or bags allowed. 8 shots, 90 seconds, 2 points for the centre impact, 1 point for an outer. So, no bags, no bipods. That would be really good to the guys who, as a discipline, shoot that quite a lot.
Absolutely. All right. Anyone got a favourite so far? Let's test the room, Bronte. What one have you heard that you liked the most?
I like the concept of the loophole one. Obviously, it's got a few things that would need to be tweaked to get it to line with
minor
DRS
details.
rules,
Let's go with conceptual.
Conceptually, I quite
that
like the loophole.
What about you, Euge? You're not a big competition shooter.
I'm not.
Which one's of interest to you?
I like the card one where you have to do the dial and the holdover.
And the hold? Yeah. Nice. Okay, very good. I've got one here from Robbie. 120 seconds, 10 rounds. You must shoot the 500 metre or 547 yard target once with each finger. 1 round per finger, hit or miss. The catch is when you switch to your non-dominant hand, you must also switch your shoulder to support side.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's a very interesting, although given there's 10 rounds, that also includes thumbs, which could make it very interesting. How about we go for an 8-round stage for that one? But have you guys played with using the other fingers as for trigger fingers?
Yeah, because the next finger, you keep top 2 fingers for running the bolt, and you use lower fingers as...
I do that a lot, yeah. I don't think I've ever pulled a trigger with my pinky finger, but it's an interesting stage. Yeah, okay, very good. Andy, you got another one lined up?
Travis got one. He's called it Wind Those Turrets. Might be a little tricky depending on your optic arrangement, but 5 targets in a square frame with 1 target in the centre. Shooter has 120 seconds and 12 rounds, allowing 2 misses he's got there. So 400 yards, shooter starts standing behind the rifle. Shooter engages the centre plate with 1 round. Shooter then dials their scope to the top left target, and while maintaining hold on the centre target, they engage that target. Shooter continues around anti-clockwise, dial to each target, but holding centre for 2 revolutions, then returns back to centre. So it's probably a good scope.
Box drill.
Yeah,
it's a box drill.
Good scope tracking.
Only thing is how it's a little challenging to enforce people to be aiming the same spot.
You really need to have like a scope cam, like one of the side shot scope things mounted to every scope, so you can track and
Bronte's
watch the cheats.
Yeah,
but it's probably the guys that have like a hard 0 stop. It's pretty hard to for them to if you're in a box drill.
You can get around that by putting the center target at the bottom in the center, and then you're doing a vertical box drill, and so that's still work. Yep. But I guess if you know the size of that target, the RO can ensure that mount is being dialed on. If you know that it's half mil to the next target, then and 1 mil up or something like that, then definitely can enforce that. But okay, good idea. Yeah. Excellent. All right, we're
ignoring them from Butters.
We can. They just can't win because of they've been run. But these are stages where Butters did actually in the last Darwin match last year. Oh yeah, sad news on Darwin, isn't it, Andy? Since our last show, you and I are all packed and ready to rock and roll. Next episode, we're actually going to do on all the gear that we packed and we're taking away with us.
Yep, we can still do one we were thinking of taking, all the gear we were thinking of taking,
or all the gear that we're taking now, given that we can't go. But I was driving home the other day and got this message saying that would you believe that we're talking about Butters and Matthew Butterfield has just rung us. Hey Butters, you're on the podcast.
Hello all.
Hello.
Butters, how are we?
Who we got here?
You got Bronte, you've got Andy and Euge. You probably don't know Euge, but...
hello, Euge.
How you going, mate?
How are we all?
Well, we were just talking about you, mate. We were actually just discussing about the stages that you submitted into the competition, and then we were releasing the bad news that I was about to say. I got a message saying, and then you rang that our flights were cancelled, and we couldn't get any more flights, so we aren't going to Darwin in a couple of weeks, unfortunately. So
sad day.
It is, mate.
I cried a little bit.
It is. So, do you want to tell us all about your shoot that no one can come to?
Well, basically, because no one can come to it, we're just having a 2-day local match, really. Centre fire on Saturday, rim fire on Sunday, just in case we might be a little bit hungover.
Less headaches, I get it, yeah.
Yeah, we don't want the noise or the smell of the centre fires.
It's a very sensible way of looking at things.
Well thought out.
You've done this before.
My ears must have been burning if I thought I'd better give you a ring.
Yeah, that's all right, mate. Well, I'm sure whatever you was calling about is important, but we'll have to chat about it later.
Yeah. No, I'll probably just send you a text. Probably not rated for podcast.
Oh, I love it. All right, mate. Very good. Well, we'll carry on and we'll chat to you a bit later.
All right, boys.
Cheers,
have a good night.
See you there, Butters.
What are the odds of that? Well, anyway, there he is. So these stages were run at the match last year that won't be run this year, but it was on the F class, the Rifle Club range up there. So we've got a stage 8, which was just send it. It's a TYL stage. Don't be a sook is in the stage brief. Shooters to start prone behind their rifle, magazine inserted, bolt open. Upon the starting signal, the shooters to engage 900-metre target. Now, these were electronic targets, by the way, not steel. With every 2 shots, the designated target area will shrink to the next ring down. There is no penalty for missing the designated target area. First 2 shots have to be within the 3 ring, and then the next, which is 1,120 mil.
Jesus. In other words, a small house.
Yeah, pretty much. Pretty much. Shots 3 and 4 within the 4 ring, which is 81.5 centimetres.
Slightly smaller house.
Slightly
just
smaller.
an apartment this time.
Shots 5 and 6 were within the 5 ring, which is down to half a metre, about the size of a small car. Shots 7 and 8 were within the 6 ring, which is 255 millimetres. And shots 9 and 10 were within the X1 ring, which is 127 millimetres. And so we actually were discussing this one when Butters and I were over in the States, and it was basically, it's a KYL rack. It really is just this, but it's on one target. So it's a really effective way of doing it on electronic targets.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and it ran really, really well. Yeah, and a lot of guys stayed within several of those rings, so it was good. So that was one of them. They did run 2. We'll skip over the other one because I'm sure it was wonderful. There's another one here from Paul Janzo, but because it's been on a different platform, I'll allow it. Novelty shoot at 100 metres. Rifle in position on the ground. Shooter standing behind the rifle on buzzer. Shooter drops behind the rifle and fires 1 shot at the left side target. Time is 6 seconds. Shooter stands behind the rifle again on the buzzer. Shooter drops behind the rifle and shoots at left target again, and also 1 shot at the second target. You've got 11 seconds. Shooter stands behind the rifle on the buzzer, drops behind the rifle and shoots 1 shot on the left, 1 shot on the second, and 1 shot on the third. See where this is going, but you've now got 14 seconds. Shooter stands behind the right, 5th target, you guys get it. 18 seconds for this one. Bet you're glad there weren't 6 targets. Any thoughts on that? Because I reckon...
I reckon it'd be fun.
I reckon it'd be fun, but my gut would be don't keep adding time.
Oh, yeah.
So,
So you give them,
maybe
say,
it's
15 seconds or
10 seconds.
Geez, harsh.
And then it's 100 metres. It's only 100 metres, and
True.
they're not building position. They're just dropping into prone. 10 seconds for we've had 400 metre stages like that where you've got 3 or 4 shots in 12 seconds, and that's dropping in and shooting distance and moving targets between them. These are just paper targets. So I like the idea. I just think you're generous in your time, Paul.
So you could just thinking about the ring target on the electronic target, you could have a randomizer. So you basically, like, the ring just changes size. It's every time of what you have to hit it in, or you have to hit it because they're obviously graduated rings.
Yeah.
So it has to be within the 3 gap between the 3 and the 4.
Oh yeah,
And
nice.
Yeah, that'd be interesting.
There was a number of suggestions here, and we'll sort of lump them in together. Sorry to everyone who entered, but there's a lot of like shoot and then do some physical activity and then shoot again and do some physical activity, and everything from running 100 metres between every shot. Was,
Yeah, awesome.
full on, or jumping jacks between every 3 rounds, or whatever it might be. Yeah, pretty classic, I guess, way of doing it. And I think mostly you don't need anything too severe, just enough to get people up and down, and that's usually enough to get people breathing. Plus the pressure of actually hitting targets. Now I think there's one more on there. Andy, do you want to read that one out from Ben?
Oh.
Unless you did.
I'm not sure.
Oh, this got really complicated and definitely doesn't fall within the rules, but I'm gonna mention it anyway. Or Bronte might be able to see it.
Yeah. Well, a complex know your limit stage.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a big one.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Why don't you think he wanted to read it?
Well, I just read 3 in a row or 2 in a row or something.
All right. So 60 seconds, 1,100 yards, unlimited rounds, 1 target. 1 sighter. If the sighter is a hit, it's worth double points. Then commence shooting. Score is multiplied by 0.5 by total hits. Yep. You strike out the second you miss. You receive no multiplier, but still earn points for impacts. You can pull up stumps after however many impacts you receive, a 0.5 multiply on total hits. Okay. Yeah, I think I get that.
Okay.
All right. So formula is total impacts plus total impacts times 0.5.
Multiplication first, so total impacts times 0.5 plus the total impacts,
Right.
or otherwise known as total impacts times 1.5.
Yes.
I was good at algebra.
Or I think what he's getting at is you lose the extra. It only becomes worth 1 point.
Yeah.
If
So basically,
if you miss one
you
of your
don't
shots.
strike out, you're at a 1.5 points per impact versus 1 point per
Yeah.
impact.
Yeah, so pretty well. Shooter must know their limit and declare to receive the multiplier bonus on the impacts. A miss shot removes the multiplier opportunity, and impact number is the only score.
Right. So the idea is to take away the 0 out of the KOL if you miss, but you just miss the benefit. It's an interesting way of doing it. Yeah.
Does he say what size target?
No.
At that distance?
No, just 1,100 yards, only around 1 target.
What was it? Small house?
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe an apartment size. Yeah.
So all sorts of interesting ideas there. Well, thank you for everyone who did put in suggestions. It's fantastic to see so many options. And as I said, there was another sort of half a dozen options that were much more around the physical side of things. Any favourites? Are we still on the same favourites, Andy? What's your most interesting one?
I might go the bullseye target at 700 metres by David Taylor.
Okay. Bullseye target 700 metres, righto, and getting different points for different sizes. Bronte, still with your favourite?
I probably do think the loophole one is the most
loophole?
interesting one still, but the using different
The
fingers
fingers?
is also
Yeah, it's got a vote.
Yeah, that's the fingers one's probably my close second now.
Right,
That's
the man likes fingering. Got it. And
and I still say we use the thumb.
okay, gotcha. Understood. We'll chat later. I think that's an interesting one. The only thing for me of why that's not my favourite is I don't see the significant practicality of that stage. But it's got 2 votes, so let's go with that. We'll pick that one in. So, Robbie, well done, mate. You got a hat on its way to you. What was my favourite? It was now forgotten. It was too long ago. Did we set it? It's not on the list in front of me. It was on Instagram, I reckon. No, I'm going to back Paul in the novelty, the 100-metre one with the limited time. I think that was my favourite. I like those stages, so I'm heavily biased towards that. But 2 of you guys said the fingers, so Spirit.
It was actually
Fingers.
got 2 seconds, didn't it? Or was that your first?
It was his new favourite.
It was my new favourite.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Okay.
you've got a sort of a second vote to it, so it has.
It's got 1.5 votes.
It's got a vote and a half.
Yeah.
Winning by
It had
half
the
a vote.
multiplier.
It did. Didn't miss it all. Is Spirit Fingers Robbie Gallo. So good job, mate. We'll get that out to you there. Fantastic. All right. Well, now that we've spent most of the episode talking about competition stages that might never get run, we will. Spotlighting. You guys have all been spotlighting recently, so I thought it's probably about time we do an episode again on spotlighting, because it's probably out of all, not maybe counting quantity of rounds, but purely in terms of maybe time spent, we've probably got majority experience in spotlighting. I think for the amount of hours we've done it over the years. So perhaps let's just kick off. You're the new one in the room. Tell us the rig you're all running, and we'll go through sort of what everyone's current spotlighting rig setup is.
Okay.
I know yours changed tonight, but tell us what you were using and maybe some of the tweaks you've done to it.
Well, yeah, I've got the Howell 1500 223, which doesn't get used a whole lot, but I tend to use the 22 or the shotgun the most out of, just because, chuck a couple of lads on the back of the ute, and shotgun, you're pretty hard to miss normally.
If there's ways.
But there is ways,
ways.
and admittedly it is an Adler, and the last time I went out, one of the guys put the ammunition in backwards somehow up the feed tube. So
That's a unique way of
so
missing.
I don't know.
Good,
I don't know how he managed to do that.
That's my favourite stage.
Yeah. But yeah, normally just the 22 and the shotgun.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah.
Okay. Very good. What 22 are you running? Or you just bought a
I
new-
did buy another new one, but I haven't run that yet. But
Okay.
it was just a Savage B22, I think.
Moving on.
Yeah, pretty much.
Moving on.
It was the first gun. Come on.
I love it.
I'm assuming you took a shower every time you put it away.
Yeah,
Well,
pretty
no,
much.
you've replaced it now, so now you can you've replaced it with
A Lithgow.
LA101.
Nice.
LA101.
Very nice.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with those. So good.
Very good, Andy. What about you, mate? What's your go-to rig?
Yeah, so I'm running a REM 700 223
Yep.
with a varmint sort of profile.
Yep.
And I took off the Tupperware and put a MDT ESS chassis
Nice.
in it. So I was sort of setting it up as a training rifle for PRS, but it also works, real well spotlighting.
Yep.
A little bit heavier, but it's still solid. And got a Vortex Gen 2, that's the one
Yeah.
on top. And my 22, I've just got a Bushnell. No, not a Bushnell. That's not a rifle. What have I got? I've got a Bushnell rimfire scope on it. It is a Ruger American 22.
Glad you got
I'll
that.
get there. Long day.
I can tell. It's all right, Bronte. What's in your mix?
Generally, it's either the 243, it's a ticker 243 with a Steiner on the top, or the 204, which is also a ticker again, and that's got a Zeiss on it that seems to work pretty well for me.
Okay. Very good. Yeah, I'm the one, and I haven't used it for a while because I think last time I took a comp gun, last 2 times I took comp guns out because just that's what I had at the time. But anyway, it's a 22-50 REM 700 on its 3rd barrel in a Manners chassis, not chassis stock. That's what they make, stocks. I don't remember the model of that one. It was one of the earlier ones. And there's no glass on that. That was running a Zeiss die range for a long time, which was an excellent scope, which is like a really sort of, it's a Zeiss Victory level optics, but it had a rangefinder in it. And that was very much cheating because it's not like a Burris Eliminator or anything like those lines where you press the thing and it tells you where to hold it. It would just give you the distance to whatever your target was. But it was a really, probably still the quickest rangefinder I've used where you tap it and its number comes up almost instantly. And that was, enough to be able to sort of hold the right position and away you go and smack the thing down. But the optics were just
Awesome.
Yeah, I dealt with a very, very average reticle and not an ability to dial the scope because it was just so clear. I could see everything. So that was good. But I have since moved that on. My intention was to replace it with the Viper PST 3 to 15. But might actually swing towards an Archon 4 to 16. The optics are pretty darn close between those two, and it's a bit cheaper. I'll just we'll see. We'll see next time I actually need to go.
Yeah.
Actually, I think just quietly, don't tell anyone, but I think I might be going spotlighting in a couple of weeks.
Very good.
Nice.
With some guys. So that could be good. So maybe I have to put some glass on there. I might probably end up putting the razor on there, but who knows? That'll do the trick. So
That'll work.
yeah, that was good. Now, a big question that's common with look, I don't know if it's still common. It was common back when I was spotlighting a lot. HID or halogen spotlights. Bronte?
I run HID, but I run the Light Force one that is, I think it's the 2300 Kelvin light. So it's actually a yellower, warmer looking light. And I think I run a 55 watt one of those.
Sure.
Not the horrible stark blue, wash all the colour out, no contrast HIDs that you get off of eBay for $27 and
Can you
catch
really?
fire if you're lucky.
Okay.
Oh, they're pretty cheap and nasty, some of them.
Yeah, I
Or
bet.
bang good if you're desperate.
Okay, that's all right. Euge, what about yourself, mate?
Admittedly, I've got an eBay HID.
$27.
It wasn't $27. It was about $60.
Yeah.
You got
So,
ripped.
Yeah.
You
Paid too
got one
much.
for half price, mate.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, I tend to run that if I'm vehicle based. Other than that, I use the Olight Javelot Pro setup just on top of the gun, which works really well.
And what sort of level of, like, how much are you vehicle based? Because for some reason, like, I just say spotlighting and I just assume everyone's in a car, but you're right, it's not bound to it.
Depends if I can get a mate with a 4-wheel drive to come out with me, to be honest.
Gotcha.
Other than that, I'm walking. So, which sucks, but still get it done.
Effective?
Yeah, still get it done. So
Yeah, nice. So we'll circle back on that point, actually.
Yeah.
Andy,
I think I'm pretty sure we've got a HID, and it's not a bright blue one. It's more of just a crisper white. But we do have a second halogen, I think, for when they're in closer. So we might use the HID to spot something out real far, and then turn the lights off, drive up, and then flick to the other one. I haven't really noticed a difference with them, like running or getting afraid of them.
Yeah,
It's more everything just looks grey or everything looks blue. That's what I
doesn't get that contrast.
Yeah, you lose the
in what's down
contrast.
around
You lose
Yeah.
a bit of depth perception as well, I find.
Yep.
And I also find I get a headache as well.
Yeah, okay.
I find it harder on my eyes.
yeah,
It's not all the whiskey from the day before.
I'm not going to rule that part out as well, but
just checking.
it just makes it worse.
Gotcha.
It adds to the problem.
Yeah, I do know that, like, once whatever you're going after, like turns and runs, the HID, you can see it for a lot longer as it's running, though.
Oh, yeah.
It pumps more light out there, and that's what I'm found. The HID I'm using provides that nice intermediate balance, because the problem with halogen is it does lack a bit of light unless you go
Real
crazy high wattages.
And that chews through some power.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
It gets pretty hot too. I've seen a few cables in cars melt because of it.
yep,
Had that experience, Euge?
yep.
Yeah. What happened?
Oh yeah, just I think it was another cheap eBay one, and it just got real hot, and next thing you know, there's a bit of smoke coming under the bonnet, and it's like, oh, oops.
Yeah, I've seen a bonnet like liner catch on fire. I didn't think they were meant to burn, but apparently they do.
Yep.
They get hot enough.
Oh, dear. That's concerning.
Yeah, not great.
No.
Got out pretty quick.
Yep.
Who put this nail in the fuse holder?
Hey, at least it wasn't a 22 round. Not that they fit or anything.
So you often do hear guys talking about the HIDs being too bright for animals and they seem to be afraid of it or scared and stuff. And that's not been my experience. I've like you, Bronte, I've run much warmer HID. But also my tendency is when you're lighting up whatever you're doing,
You don't put it straight in at them.
no, you often try and keep them on the edge of it.
Yep.
Has been my experience, and that's worked really really well. Yeah,
One of the tips that I picked up from a pro roo shooter was when you've got game works with whether it's roos for culling or harvesting or whatever, or foxes do the same. If you've got something actually running in a direction, don't hold the light on them while they're running. Put the light maybe 30 or 40 meters in front of them.
yep,
and if they're not, depending how level of frightened they are, but if they're not too frightened, they'll generally stop
prior to
just
it.
on the edge of the light.
I,
Stop close enough. You can still see them and you can still get the job done. And yeah, they just sort of pulls them up on the edge of the light. It's quite. It works more often than not.
I've got no scientific basis to prove that. But in my limited personal experience, I've found that as well. And remember particular examples, but you've got a number of various animals running across, and I had the light 30, 40, 50 meters, and it was just doing up and down. So it was just up and down on it, and they just wouldn't seem to cross it. They just stopped prior to it. It's interesting to hear that that's not just owl.
Another one that I have heard, I haven't actually tested it myself.
Oh, here comes all the stories. I was waiting for this moment.
But on the same sort of principle was basically a guy
speculation time.
2 spotlights mounted with a dark spot in between them.
Yep.
So you had basically the 2 spotlights and a little dead patch in between, and then you basically hold the dead patch on them and they wouldn't go left or right, and they'd stand there and look and you go, shit, which way do I go?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right, so what you really need is 4. It's 4 lights, and just get them right in the centre, and then have that's actually mounted onto the end of your barrel.
Oh,
and so,
geez, now we're getting a bit
okay.
bloody stuff hanging on to that on the back of your ear. Get a bit heavy, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
And the wind.
Just Gatling gun or something. Right.
Now we're talking. Turret mounted 50 BMG.
Why not?
Sounds cheap. Euge, what about you, mate? Any techniques or advice that you've worked or magically heard is amazing?
No, it's just similar to the leaving the light slightly behind them, or in front of them, so that they don't
cross.
Don't cross as much, or give it a bit of a wiggle and a bit of a. They kind of get confused or something. I don't know what.
All the old moon arcs over the top to get the fox to look up at you so you can pick up his eyes.
Yep.
What about yelling at foxes? You guys done much with that?
No, but bleeding like a sheep works surprisingly well.
Bleeding. I thought you said bleeding like a sheep.
Oh, that probably worked
if
too.
If that's happened, that's probably a bit late.
Bleating like a sheep.
Bleating like a sheep.
Yeah,
Yep.
it's an old Inco.
Have you got an
trick, that
example?
one. Oh, no, hell no. Inco's the chief bleater.
Okay. Should we call? Oh, it's probably a bit late.
Probably a bit late. No,
So we'll call it.
it works though.
It does. Yeah, that's all right. Jordan's the got all the
He's the
noises.
shake and bake man.
Yeah, well, that's Dan really.
Oh yeah.
But the noises I've heard, all sorts of abuse yelled at foxes, and they often will stop and turn around and what did you call me? And
Not a good life decision.
That is the moment that you make. You usually get one little look back. What about you, Andy? Some tips and tricks of spotlighting?
Not too much on the light side of it.
More of the spot.
What?
He's gone now.
He's gone.
He's
yeah.
gone.
All right,
I was thinking about, do you guys use any filters like red or green filters on your lights?
Oh, good call. Good call.
No.
No. Okay.
No?
I bought a red filter. I used a red filter for half of a night, then threw it out the window. That was back in the halogen days.
I was going to say, was that halogen?
Yeah.
Because I've used both and red extensively, but they're always on HRDs. So one night I went out with Badco, the man himself, and this is pre-thermal days for him. So it was back in the day when he was using a poor man's scope like the rest of us. And we were out, and it was just that time of the year everything was on heat, including him. But that's a different story for a different podcast. So he shot a fox on the job and couldn't work it out. It was moving weird, and then we worked out afterwards why it was moving weird. But what we were finding is all these foxes were paired up. And they would not come to calls, which was our normal trick, was sit up on a ridge line somewhere or hilltop and just start calling and watch them come in and knock them off. No response. We could see them that they were there, nothing. So we're like, all right, let's try and get a bit closer. We get a bit closer and a bit closer and a bit closer, and they wouldn't move so much until we got close enough in, and then they were gone. I'm like, okay, let's change tack. Let's go red filters on these things, and we were able to drive the car to 100 metres.
Yeah,
we were like stupidly close where the light wasn't throwing them off. Obviously, no, they were pretty distracted by each other. But in that scenario, we found red filters were just, and as soon as you took red filter off, try and do it with white light, couldn't do it. They're 300 metres and they were just, they were off. But that was huge revelation. Anyway, we hit this property fairly regularly, and after a little while, they got used to red. So we changed to green. and we were back on it. And we were able to get back in. And we found that, so we really discovered it during that breeding weekend, or that doesn't sound right. Anyway, we found it on that particular weekend. And so when we went back, though, we still utilised the red filters, and they certainly netted really good results until the point we found that we changed over to green. Now, green wasn't as good a light. It was a harder light to shoot under. But when it got really tricky, we put the green on for a while, and we did that for maybe a few months, and then we went back to red, and we were good to go again. So just obviously the population cycle was through, and we were helping with that. And you also, I guess, what they get used to in a period of time. And so red and green filters, but particularly red, was a really good balance. But you have to punch some serious light through it to make it really effective. Used a lot of red filters on small properties, a lot of rimfire sort of stuff. Even just walking around like you had been doing, Euge, where really, when they're used to it, and it really gets to that point where you put the light on and they're gone. You're lucky something's around here, lights on, and it's off. The red filter usually will take that edge off. Yeah, so that's been my experience anyway. It's one of the few things we were wowed by. It's really, really effective.
Yeah, just because when I've got a torch mounted to mine, if I'm with the 22 looking for bunnies, and I use the red filter on that one, but never on a HID. Spotlighting, that's all.
Yeah. Might be worthwhile. What about walking around? Bronte, have you done much? I'm guessing no. Just the way you looked at me then. Walk? What? What are you talking about?
No, mate, I got a car.
Fair enough. That's right.
Actually, sorry, I have done some spotlighting under a torch, but it was shooting pigeons pigeons with a shotgun.
Oh, it's hard to drive around a shed. Yeah,
out of a shed. That was pretty fun.
Okay. Nice.
And
well, what about the healthy young lads who both walk around and shoot? What does a night look like for you spotlighting, doing that? Do you cover a lot of ground? Or?
Yeah, I don't mind a walk. So and I get keen and I just kind of go, I'm out here to shoot. So I'm just going to keep going and going until I fall over pretty much. But it's normally just the Javelin Pro on top of the 22, and I've got the 223 normally strapped to the back on a backpack or something in case the fox or something's a bit too far out for the 22.
What happens then? So if you've got one light strap, you just take the light off the 22 and you can clip it onto your 223 quickly?
Yeah, or hold it on the side of the stock kind of and juggle it and just
make it work.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I do have a little handheld cheap eBay spotlight as well that comes in handy from time to time.
Nice.
But
okay. Yeah, right. And how do you know sort of how far you would cover over a course of an evening walking?
The furthest I've done is about 15K.
Yeah, right.
Fair way.
So
solid effort.
Yeah.
And what sort of do you get a fox for the night, or I mean, I know it varies, of course, but do you hit more if you're in the vehicle? Do you because you can cover more ground?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, definitely. And it's easy to get up on them a bit quicker as well.
Yeah.
Especially if they drop over a ridgeline or something.
Do you find yourself playing games with them of you know where they are, and so being able to sort of double back on because you're on foot, you're less intimidating?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, okay. That'd be fun, I reckon. I mean, it's fun doing that in a vehicle, where you're sort of knowing the paddocks and you're being able to go through. I remember learning that with the guy, Tom Eckert, you guys know. Anyway, Tom knew his properties really well, and he would drive for us, and we'd be chasing this fox, and then he'd just turn a hard right and go back into two paddocks over. We're like, "Where are you going, man?" And he's like, "Trust me." All right. He'd come all the way around, and then bang, 300 meters away, and this fox pops up. You're like, "That's the same damn fox." Yeah. And he just obviously knows what their habits are and knows their property, and it's amazing to see that. But I imagine that's some ways easier on foot, definitely, because they don't sort of run off quite so far. Yeah. What about you, Andy, with walking around? Or you just walk to the car and back? Is that what you?
Yeah, that's about it. Yeah. No, I'll do a little bit. Maybe before we head out for the night, just walk around the property, closer to the house or the back sheds, the shearing shed or whatever like that. Walk around a bit, just with the 22, and they'll only go for about half an hour, and then we go out on the car and then come back, and I might do another lap around then. That's about it. Yeah, nothing too serious, but just looking for the odd little thing that's hanging around the house.
Yeah, nice.
So what sort of battery life do you get out of your light?
if I've got it on solid, you're probably looking a couple of hours.
Yeah, okay.
But you're kind of switching it on and off and dimming it and stuff. You can get like 6 hours out of it.
Yeah, right.
Which is pretty good. And I do have 2 batteries for it, so that always helps as well. So
Yep. And then the range?
on full, you can get close to a K.
Yeah, right. So you can
Like
see
you,
eyes that are
you probably can't identify a whole lot out that far, but you can kind of see it.
something
It going,
on.
yeah,
Yeah, right.
yeah. Like you can pick like a
pretty
tree.
good.
You can
Bloody
pick,
long way.
yeah, you
Yeah.
can definitely pick out tree lines and stuff at that kind of distance.
Yep.
Yeah, right. Wow. That's
Yeah.
because that's going to be the thing. Obviously, everyone's talked about halogen and HID, but sure, it won't be too far away until we're
LEDs.
LED spotlights because you look at your LED light bars. There's not too many people running around with HID lights anymore because the LED light bar is just next level.
Okay. I haven't kept up with lights on vehicles since driving a van. It's not really high priority, but okay. Yeah. The other question I was going to throw to you guys was about some of those little spotlighting hacks, those little things that you know, maybe a particular item, product or invention or things you've done that has paid dividends. Anything come to mind, Euge?
I made my own roof mount for my spotlight
Oh, yeah?
because I think Lightforce sell one and they're like $500. I've made mine for about $20.
Was it a
I've
staple
got-
gun and a
Not quite that bad, but no, it was literally a bit of tube from Bunnings and some randomly found these magnetic mounts for light bars on eBay
yeah.
and just bought 2 of those and then mounted the bar to that and then bought a power beam
Yep.
swivel thing
Yep.
and just mounted it to that and that worked a treat.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah, nice.
So
Those power beam handles were always killer.
Yeah, the power beam handles are better than the light force.
Yeah.
I find them more comfortable.
Because my rig was mounted in the roof.
Yep.
I'll tell you what, that was I put off doing that for years and years and years, and then went ahead and did it. Should have done it years before. It was that was so good being able to have the handle through the roof, the light through the roof, and used a spotlight a lot with Dutchy back then, and it was just windows up, coffees in hand. Aircon on, mate. It wasn't hunting. It was just a luxurious drive, and then we'd kill something. Yeah.
yep.
All right.
Any other hacks?
Yeah, I found up on the back of the ute, if you're cruising around with a bit of speed and it's cold, your eyes start watering and that sort of stuff. So I usually wear just your clear safety glasses.
Yep.
I don't know if anyone else does that.
Oh yeah,
Done
Yeah.
that in the past,
Yeah.
yeah.
absolutely, and especially going through like bugs and that sort of stuff.
Oh, yeah.
man, copping a bug in the eye.
Yep.
Is, not fun at 40Ks.
And that's it.
Yeah.
And I definitely use all my PRS bags, Like, I definitely take all them.
Game changers are pretty handy if you're on the back of the
Game
ute.
changer's super good. Yeah, even out the window.
Yeah, my main thing was I learned to shoot left-handed,
Yeah.
Yep.
I remember.
and I feel quite very comfortable shooting left-handed because I do most of my spotlighting by myself. So I drive and shoot. So I got the Light Force mount, the iron rest thingy that sticks out the side, and I probably would take maybe 75% of my shots left-handed spotlighting
Yeah, okay.
because it's just there and it's easier rather than trying to twist around and contort. You can kind of then you don't have to change the vehicle's direction as much, so you're quicker to get time on target. And yeah,
I remember actually that first PRI, and you came out and dominated this stage where you had to shoot right hand and left handed, and everyone's like, "What is going on?" And you told the story about how you spotlight and how you sort of learnt to do that and forced yourself to do it, and it's paid dividends.
it's a good skill to have, and that's where some people know when they have difficulty and don't use if they swap shoulders, but they'll keep the same trigger hand. But for me, it sort of
Swapping
made sense
everything.
to swap everything. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or the pool noodle, cut that in half and
yes.
put that over the window.
Yeah.
And then you've got a good rest as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That works quite well.
that worked. Sean Milner, STS, ages ago, when he first got his 3D printer, he printed up these cup holders that had bullet holders in them. So you put this, I've got it somewhere, but
Yeah, it makes sense.
You've got this cup holder and you put in your cup holder, I guess. And you got this cup and put that in there, and then it just would have all these holes in it, and you could put your ammo in there, so that and we often didn't run a lot of magazine fed because you want a smooth bottom on it. So we didn't run too many magazines, or they were sort of flush magazines, and so having extra rounds on hand was really, really convenient. And so being able to grab grab a couple of topped up rounds from there rather than trying to dig through an ammo box. That was good. Although I did find in the Hilux in the center console the lifter. What is that area called? I don't know.
The armresty bit?
On the armrest, yeah. You lift the armrest out and that in there, if you took out whatever it came with, would fit perfectly one RM 100 from MTM. So you take the lid off that, you take the armrest bit, unscrew that and take that off and it would just sit there with 100 rounds. It was that was just built for it, perfect for it. So that was a good little trick. And then we did actually installing a sound system into the car that was not just to play music. It was
animal calls.
Yeah, animal calls. So it would have a plug-in for your phone, and then would have speaker attachments built in. You put your speakers, mount them on with suction cups under the front, and these big siren, big loudspeakers, and drive along. Just playing calls. So we were at the point where we'd be driving along playing something, just looking for eyes, and there'd be a flash of eyes, and kill everything off. Everything goes quiet, dark, and everything. You're like, okay, let's line everything up, get ready here, and start calling. Yeah. Just go. We'd moved to manual at that point, and just manually call it in. Yeah, it was very effective. And we ended up with 50-something foxes one night.
Wow.
Good night out.
Good night out.
It was a great night out. Yeah, very good. Any other advice, tips, stories?
Stay
Stories
warm,
if you've got any
wear
stories.
gloves.
Yeah, warm.
Yeah,
Yep.
I agree.
Yep.
I agree.
Get someone who knows how to drive properly. Doesn't see an animal and slow down. Go faster.
Well, it depends on the style.
It depends on your style, though.
It does a bit, but
Yeah.
And the paddock condition
Paddock
you
condition.
can always fix a fence, though.
Yeah. Most of I've done very little shotgun chasing,
Oh, okay. Yeah.
spotlighting, and a high 90% of my shooting in that spotlighting environment's all been long range or moderate range with the rifle.
We
And
had
it's just that, yeah.
a bit of an accident one time out, and that put us off chasing, and just hit something that we weren't expecting to be there, and we managed to get the car airborne.
It's not a nice feeling.
No, it was not, especially a big heavy Hilux, and we cleared about 7 meters and in the air, and then landed. Fortunately, everyone was fine eventually, but we after that we really focused on we see something cool, let's angle towards it and kill everything, then turn the lights back on and bang, put it down. And
But I do completely agree about having a driver that knows what
agree,
they're doing.
100%.
Because your success and failure is so much driven by the driver itself, because they don't put you in a position where they see a fox and point the car straight at the fox and go, well, that's fantastic. You've got a light in your way if you've got to send them out a light, or if you're shooting from the front seat of the passenger seat, you're like, well, that's great. There's a windscreen in my way.
totally. And I think that extends to the light operator as well.
True.
Like often, particularly early days, you'd put the least experienced person on the light because you're like, oh, well, I've got the gun, so that's important. And then you've got the shotgun because you're probably the second most good at shooting, especially with vocabulary like that. And then whoever was left over was on the light. And I tell you what, you learn pretty quickly you get someone good on light, and Andrew Noble was really good on light. And you get someone like that, and they're actually able to adjust the
beam, the divergence of the beam.
Yeah, the parabola, is that anyway, whatever it is,
Parabolic lens.
Lens. That's the word I'm looking for. Yeah, panoramic focus. Anyway, so you can actually adjust that and being able to utilize all those things to really make it work. And you will see more. You will be the light will be much more consistent on it. And when you're sweeping side to side, it's not doing this thing.
Yeah,
which is so often.
But it's also just that experience as well. If you've got someone that's done a lot of shooting themselves, they'll be able to see where the person with the gun is. They're fumbling around for their magazine. They won't be holding the light straight on the fox. Yeah. Because the fox is going to go, no, I'm not hanging around here. They'll go. But if the fox hasn't been spooked yet, you take the light off it and sort of wave it in the air or move it a while. You're buying that person a bit of time to get themselves organised. It makes for a much smoother...
And they're not calling as many rocks. Like, it's a rock.
It's spider.
Spider eyes,
Yes.
What, 20 metres in front?
Quails.
Did have quails. Saw a guy land on a quail. He caught a quail.
Yeah,
Got it,
right.
one of the driver is his property. He's like, watch this, and okay, no worries. And he got out and you stalked it in and came in from the other side. And then his finishing move, he would sort of stand dead straight, pull his body all the way in, and then he'd he'd have his hands around his face, and he would just drop. And just this perfect drop onto his hands with the quail in his hands. Never seen anything like it. And and he caught the quail every time.
Wow.
Every time he did it. Yeah, it was, I don't. It's a skill that's not useful at all. But
It would be if you were really hungry for quails.
fair, okay, I'll take everything back. Yeah, no, it's probably the most useful skill you could possibly have.
If you're starving.
in a zombie apocalypse
Yeah.
where the quails
It's
haven't
only quails.
gone zombie.
Only quails. Useless for everything. The quails is fine.
Right. Terrible in bird flu then. Yeah.
Yeah, terrible. Yeah.
Good. All right. Any other stories to tell?
Don't get bogged.
Not looking for advice. I want a story from you.
Yeah, actually, mindful of rabbit warrens. Don't drive over them. Don't drive over a rabbit warren. It sounds really simple, and anyone that's driven over a rabbit warren will go, yeah, don't drive over a rabbit warren. Yeah.
Yeah.
But some people haven't learnt that message.
True.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just try. I guess especially when you're up there with a couple of new people or people you haven't been out with a couple of times, just real muzzle direction awareness
Definitely.
and state of firearms, like whether they're going from they've had a loaded shotgun and then they're like, no, we're not going to chase this one. Put that down and then pull out a rifle. And it's like, well, hang on,
What's the deal with that
Yeah.
shotgun?
you got that just lying there.
And also people getting in and out of the car as well.
Yeah.
If you've got, someone spectating from the front seat or want to get out to open a gate or something like that, it's really that communication with the people with the firearms in the back and the driver and everyone talking to each other.
Yeah, I've got a bit of a rule. If anyone's out of the car, no shooting at all, even if you're shooting
Yep, exactly
180
right.
degrees behind.
Yeah, and it's
Just
similar.
simple things like that.
That's
It's
definitely.
a quick way to ruin a night.
It's a really good point to bring up. How do you guys run your firearm discipline during that? You've obviously got that particular rule. Any other rules to mention, Euge? What about when you're by yourself? Are you bolt closed on an empty chamber, on a loaded chamber, or what's your?
Well, the gun on the back's normally loaded, empty chamber, bolt closed.
Yep.
The one I'm carrying is normally loaded, bolt open.
Yep.
So just if I see something, just a quick
Bolt up. Yep.
bolt up and bang, hopefully.
Anyone got any difference to that?
I'd sometimes run loaded chamber decocked. Is
Oh, yeah.
pretty standard. I mean, the muzzle's always pointing in a safe direction. It's out the window.
Yep.
You're in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
If there were people sitting on the back of the vehicle or something like that, and you'd review that. But if I'm by myself, then that's how I'd typically operate. Yeah.
Yeah. When I used to shoot with Dutchie a lot, we was bolt closed on an empty chamber, but still subject to as though it was live.
Yeah.
So that's how we would keep them, so that we were comfortable holding them. But you would still treat it in no different way than if that gun was live. You would still treat it the same. Yep.
Yeah, I'm the same. Yeah, closed on and empty, and that's about it. If you've got like a break action shotty, you just break it, pull them out, and it's there.
Yeah. It's, take it back for shotties. It was always open or closed. If it was closed, it was hot.
It was on. Yeah.
Yeah, and that was pretty much as soon as you would see. I used to hold my shotgun with the right hand under the brake and the thumbs on the shells. So there was ammo in there, but my thumb was in the interference. And then as soon as you saw something, close it up, and away we went.
Your thumb was the pinch point.
Exactly right. Exactly right.
Any particular reason you went for a 204 and you went for a 223 and that sort of thing? Or the sort of calibers we
Another
chose?
question.
For me, the 223 was probably availability of ammo and cost-wise. And I think because being a relatively new shooter, I didn't want something too big, like a 270 or something that would probably possibly scare me or put me off a bit. But yeah, that's probably why.
Yep.
And I feel like, you can still shoot quite comfortably out to 300 metres with that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I went the 204. Prior to that we had a 17 Remington.
Okay.
We had one of those, and that was sensational on foxes. But the problem with that, it was like a 25 grain projectile doing like 4,000 and something feet per second, and it would literally hit a blade of grass and explode. And it's just the most frustrating thing. There's a fox, you can see it, and then nothing happened because it hit a twig. Well, that's no good. And then got rid of that fairly quickly because it gave us the shits. And then got the 204, and the rationale behind the 204 was if they're set up right, they're inherently accurate. So I know some people have had trouble with them with twist rates and bits and pieces, but if they're set up right, they are inherently accurate, and they're flat and fast. So it was effectively, there's no dialing, no anything. It's literally, if you can see it, put the crosshairs on it, and pull the trigger. It's as simple as it gets for spotlighting, and it was, primarily targeted around your foxes and stuff like that.
Yeah, nice. Yep. Oh yeah, 22-50 because it was one better than 2-3.
Fair enough.
No, I liked it because you had a little bit more of a flatter trajectory, a little bit further out, and it was a second-hand gun when I bought it, and it came up really good price and all that sort of thing, and I ran with it. It's good. I've spotlighted with, I've got a 1.7 Fireball, spotlighted with 2-3s, used a 204 I think once or twice, and 308s. Used to run that fair bit for some strange reason.
Poor bugger.
Yeah, 270, 6.5. I think most things I'm sure we've had a 338 Lapua out once when we were spotlighting just for
run out of ammo and everything else.
Just more just because the fact that we needed to do that at some point in life.
Oh, I've got to say though, 300 Win Mag with 110 grain projectile on a rabbit at about 140 meters is sensational. It is it's something else. You can't find it, but you sure as hell can smell it.
It's because half of it's gone up your nose.
It's just boom. Yeah, it's awesome.
Oh, fantastic!
Everyone's got to do that at least once.
Andy, what about you? Why did you get what you 2-3? Oh, you bought it as a training gun for you.
Yeah, well, it was one of the early gun that I got. Yeah, and I went for price, just bulk ammo. You're going to find it anywhere. It's just reliable and cost effective. Yeah.
Sensible. Very good. Well, gents, I think we shall leave it there. We've certainly covered all sorts of things, guys. We'll have to think of another competition because that went really well. So, but we want to hear. Maybe we should take the HID halogen. That's an old argument, isn't it?
Or if anyone's had any
LEDs. Yeah, tell us what you're doing with LEDs.
Because obviously there was a guy years and years ago trying to push them. And he's trying to say his 10-watt LED was going to be better than 100-watt HID, which was amusing. But
things progress.
Yeah, I mean, LEDs are pretty good, and you can also get some really interesting ranges of colours in them as well.
Yeah, you do a lot more with beams now than years ago.
I mean, we have spotlight under LED when the main light broke, and we actually used like a LED, the X20 LED lens X21, like this monstrous LED torch at the time, and that was very capable out to a couple hundred metres, but yeah.
Very good. All right, who's got social? Andy's, you've got a social public profile going. What's yours? How do you follow you?
I'm A Little Precision Rifle on Facebook and Andy Little PRS on Instagram.
Good. Euge, out publicly, or you just keep it in the closet?
That's it.
All right, and mine is impact.rusty, and you can watch me open basketball cards on there. It's exciting times. Otherwise, Precision Shooting Podcast on everything. You will find us there. And guys, thank you very much for listening. Cheers.
Thanks for listening to the Precision Shooting Podcast. To continue the discussion, check out our Facebook page. And for more information, head to our website, www.precisionshootingpodcast.com.au. This episode was brought to you by Impact Dynamics.